Welcome back, guys. Welcome to one of the greatest debates ever. Maybe we can put some sort of closure to it. We are going to talk about Scandi versus Convex. Now, these are both the same model knife. They're the Adventure Sworn Mountaineer. One is in 01, one is in CPM 3V. Steel's not going to matter in this case. We're not going to look at edge retention based off of the steels. We all know that 3V is going to last longer than 01, but Scandi might pick up more damage than Convex. We'll see. That we're going to take a look at. They are very, very similar in thickness. The 3V is not one, it's supposed to be 1/8, but measured with calipers it's 0.118, and then this is 0.138, so a difference of 20,000 between the thickness of these knives, so very, very close. Same exact model, all of that stuff, so this should be one of the most accurate, non-biased Scandi versus Convex tests around. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and we're going to do a paper slice test just as a benchmark. Whether or not we can cut, it doesn't really matter. We're looking to see what the edge damage is going to be to these knives if they pick up any. So we're going to take our it's a little tearing a little bit, but that could just be the paper. Wow, look at that. Fresh edge. I noticed lately with the humidity out here and the awkward angles that I'm using, there we go, that it kind of throws things off. Let's grab the 3V. Now, to be fair, the 01 doesn't have a factory edge. This still has a factory edge on it. You know, it's catching, not because of how it was ground, but basically because of the awkwardness. So, it does good. I don't think there's going to be really any sharpness, degradation, or edge damage from either of these knives. Not in the first tests, anyway. We're going to start off with the batoning. I have a pretty long piece of maple here. It's probably out of frame, but we're going to do that. We'll start off with the Scandi. I'm going to use terms like wedgy and slicey a lot. The Scandi is going to be more slicey. No, sorry. The Scandi is going to be more wedgy. And the Convex is going to be more slicey. So that felt really good going through. No issues, no complaints. It's going to spark off. Remember to stab these in. Alright. Break down this quarter. Start at this end. And I might end up using the same stick, depending on which one's better. So I'm going to go ahead and tap this in. And so while the Scandi wedges the wood apart, the Convex kind of just slides and glides through, and that's where I mean the difference between slicey versus wedgy comes in. It's kind of a, unless if you're, have both grinds and really, really work on this, it's kind of hard to explain the two. So this is Convex, as hopefully you can see. Doing absolutely wonderful. And you see those thinner ribbons, like you can work on making them thicker, but it takes a lot more pressure from your hand. So this takes more effort to bust out thicker feathers, but it takes a lot less effort to do these very, very fine feathers like I started here in the beginning, or like I was just about to peel off right there. So some of them will come out very, very fine. So it comes down to what you're looking for. Sometimes I like the convex for being able to bust out very, very fine feathers, especially since you're using this as tinder. And I'll show you what we're going to get out of the Scandi. Same piece, so I'll leave all of these down here. And Scandi is going to be more like a plain blade. It's going to want to take larger, fatter pieces off. It kind of, bites in, dives in there. And while you can still knock out some of these fine feathers, it takes a little bit more control to really find where those go. And it just takes a little bit less effort to knock out some of those fatter, thicker feathers. So basically, depending on what you're looking for in a knife, either one of these can do it. There's, I don't think there's a really, really clear advantage over one when it comes down to feather sticks. But the Scandi will make feathers faster because it's taking off larger pieces of wood. Or not larger, but thicker feathers versus a convex, which is going to be pulling off thinner, and if I can get it right, very, very thin feathers, like this one right here, versus something more like that. While this will still light from a ferro rod, it's much thicker than, say, something like that. So both of them work, both of them do very well. I don't think I really prefer one over the other, unless maybe, let's try to do some fast feathers. Let's see how fast I can knock out feathers. I don't know if fast feathers are easier on one or the other, so. Or maybe not fast feathers, but fast curls. Because I guess sometimes if you need tinder, you need tinder quick. That's not bad. Break those off. Come in here now, and let's see. They do pretty much the same, and same idea, thick feathers versus thinner feathers. So no huge difference there. One thing I want to see is how well these actually will do fat wood, because fat wood can be kind of gnarly. And I mean kind of gnarly, I mean like twisted to hunk of chunk of wood here, so let's just see. This is, I've damaged more blades on fat wood than anything else. So if I can get through this, we're golden. Damn. So that was super easy. And I also want to test, so let me grab this chunk here. And we're going to do the convex, not the convex, the Scandi. Getting my grinds mixed up today. Yeah, see, this is kind of it was still pretty easy, but it wedges right in the beginning, where this kind of just slices through, this kind of wedges in and then pops the wood apart. So this just takes a little less effort, and I know it's just, you know, ever so slightly thinner, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just that continuous grind carrying it in there versus, you know, going from 0 to 0.138, and this is going from 0 to 0.118 over a larger distance, so it's just more of a gradual transition. And then we want to see how this is going to scrape. So we'll just do a quick spine test. Both of them are going to be fine in this. Really not concerned with this part, but we can do it because it's important. Oh yeah, just what I thought. So this Convex had a way sharper spine. Let's see what this feels like. Scraping fat wood itself, or see, and if you hit that, there we go. If you're not on that edge perfectly on here, you can definitely feel it on something so hard. Versus, I do not like that sound. Versus, Scandi is going to be easier for beginners to find their edge to do this. You know, if I'm not on that edge, I can feel it still, but here you can definitely feel it more if you're not on that edge. So I'm going to put that in the fire pit. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty. So I think woodcraft is where these two blades are really going to stand out from each other. So we're going to do a bunch of things. I'm going to, you know, make a semi-ghetto tent stake, do some notches on here, just basically do everything on these two different pieces of wood solely with the blades. I think, so my thoughts are, I have no idea what kind of wood this is, by the way, and it feels partially green still. There's definitely moisture in it, so it should carve pretty easily. My feelings are that the Scandi's going to excel here. So whereas Firecraft, they're pretty much even, there's really not going to be any deal breaker between the two. Where this is concerned, I definitely think the Scandi is going to outperform the Convex, but we will see. So let's start with the Scandi. So we're going to go here, and we're just going to start. We'll start with the standard. Remove some bark. Gotta pop through some of those little knots. Okay, so we're going to want to make a stake of some sort. That's better. We're at 25 slices. .40 slices, so it's kind of a very wonky sort of tent stake that would work. And I already lost track, but we're pretty much there anyway. So it feels great. Cuts through wood like a beast. Does everything it's supposed to do. Chamfer, take some more bark off. Dig that. chamfer our edges. The edge chamfer is something I do all the time. So, definitely something. And then that whole like little cross grain cut. Just sometimes to clean things up, pretty things up. So, not bad. Nice big hefty 10 steak. I don't usually make them this beefy. Let's put a notch in here. Sinks in really, really deep. Almost half of that Scandi grind. Whatever wood I picked here is kind of a very soft green wood. That would totally work. That'd be a great 10 steak. Super fast. Let's check out. I want to do. Let's just do a really quick V-notch just to see how that feels. 7 notches are usually pretty good. Pretty good reference point. Really sloppy, crappy V-notch. And then let's do a pot hanger. I guess over here. I'm gonna do it without a baton. I want to get that feedback from the blade. Definitely did not put that deep enough. Alright, I will need the baton just to, wherever I put it, I'll use, no, I don't want to use that. It's right next to me. Just to get that in a little bit deeper. I feel like I'm at kind of an awkward angle. So 3 little taps. And I feel like the baton is kind of a safety measure as well. Taps. Bring that out. Okay, now that there we go. I'm getting a little bit deeper into this stick. I'm starting to feel it push back. Really, absolutely no complaints at all. Never really have any complaints with Adventure Sworn blades. Some of the best guys out there. Really hoping I get to meet them. Honestly, some of the best customer service I've received too. Even though sometimes they could take a little bit to get back to you, but they usually do. There's multiple ways to try to contact them, so. And we'll roll this tip under. And just an alright pot hook. You know, nothing special, but it did it. It worked. And let's reset for the Convex. Convex time. Same idea. That end's dry. This is the middle. Debarking, man. This feels better than the Scandi already. Don't see really any pin knots. So let's try to just go. Oh my gosh, a little higher. Try to knock off some of these pin knots. Which feels a lot better than Scandi. Okay. I apologize. I just realized the camera had stopped recording for some reason. I don't know why. Reset my timer. Camera had stopped recording. Don't know why. So, basically, it stopped while I was shaping this, while I was shaping the steak. The Convex did absolutely great for chamfering the top, cleaning up the top. The Convex did great for that. The Scandi does better with the notches. It feels like it just does overall. It does so much better with the notches than the Convex. Even though right now, the Convex seems to be killing it. Ugh. Nice deep pot hook notch now. So I did the V notch, I did the 7 notch. The Scandi did better on that. The Scandi did better on this. This is kind of killing this pot hook notch though, so I'd have to give the slight edge to the Convex. And let's get in there with the tip. Clean that out. And that would probably be, depending on what bale you're using, that would probably be a pretty good pot hook notch. So, recap. When it comes to carving the actual steak tip itself, right? So we're about even there. I think they're even. For a large stock removal, I don't think there's an issue with either of them. On dry wood, it might be a different story. On a dry wood, I think Scandi would do better than Convex would. When it comes to notching, the Scandi outperforms the Convex just by a little bit, but the Convex had great control and did a very, very good job over here on the pot hook notch versus over here. So far, they're pretty much even again. There's really nothing that one is super excelling at and is making, amazing leaps and bounds. But the next test is food prep, and that's where I think this is going to really separate these two knives. I think the Convex in food prep is going to be amazing and awesome and just blow the Scandi away. But then again, I thought the Scandi was going to blow the Convex away, so who knows? They might be even again, and it might not really matter in the end. I'll do another episode, though, on sharpening, because I know that's the biggest thing that people say, oh, Scandis are so easy to sharpen, Convexes are hard to sharpen, I don't want to sharpen a Convex. We'll sharpen both these knives at the end in a separate episode. So we're at the camp kitchen section of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 tests. We're going to do something harder, like a potato, root vegetable, some sort, cut that up, and then we're going to go ahead and process a chicken, break that down with the knife. So start with the Scandi, and we're going to cut through here, and as typical with Scandi, it kind of wedges through and breaks itself, splits that potato apart. Now on this section of the potato, it actually shouldn't be as bad, but you get a lot of wedging, and at this point it's splitting it apart, not cutting it apart. So not necessarily ideal. You're always going to get a lot of wedging off of Scandi grinds. However, let's test Convex grind. Ooh, slices. Definitely slices more than splits. Over this way. In here, there's a bit of splitting, but there's definitely more slicing. This still is, in my opinion, a bit thick for a kitchen knife if you're going to be doing work like cutting potatoes or carrots, anything harder. Softer things, that's a different story. Let me clear this stuff out of the way, and we'll get on to our chicken. We got our chicken on the board, and what we're going to do is half the chicken we're going to do with one blade, and half the chicken we're going to do with the other blade. I'll give Scandi a go first. So I'm going to do leg, thigh, wing, and breast. Same thing on the other side. So go with Scandi first. Really nice edge on this. I can definitely feel that it's nice and sharp. Sometimes, if it's not sharp enough, it's going to kind of streak across or just not cut very well. It seems to be doing a very good job at separating the meat. Hitting through all that. Great. Wing. And I don't think there's really going to be an issue with either of these breaking down something softer. It's actually working really, really well. I've used some other outdoor knives to break down poultry, and it just doesn't work this well. Going through that cartilage. Really getting down right to the bone. This thing's actually doing really, really well. Getting a lot of tip control in here. Alright, go this way. And bam. Get our skin out of the way. Did an amazing job. It actually performed so much better than I thought it was going to perform. So, great job. Almost got all of it. Left a little bit of meat behind. Alright, jump over. This is, so I'm always better with the right-hand side of the chicken than I am with the left-hand side of the chicken. That's why I did Scandi first, just to give it a slight advantage. Oh, wow. That Convex just seems to have a bit of a finer edge on it. It's flying through this just a little bit better. All the way around to the back. There we go. Separate that out. That was good. Let's get into that wing. Separated that joint out. And of course the hardest part now, because it's going to be nice and slippery, I'll try to work on this. So with the Scandi I felt like I had a lot of precision and it just kind of flew through here. And with the Convex I feel like I have even more precision. Even more of a laser fine precision to work through here. So I'm leaning towards the Convex a little bit more. That's not a huge surprise though. And bam. So, oh my god. Everything is just so surprisingly close. They were both absolutely phenomenal. The Convex, definitely, it felt like a laser. I could, just point the tip of that knife where I wanted it to go, and it just kind of went through, kept going. Where I felt like I needed to take a few more swipes with the Scandi. But let's get these cleaned up, sit down, and go over final thoughts. Alright, we're back to where it all started. Convex versus Scandi. Oh my god, I don't know if you guys can see this on film. This 01 took a wicked cool patina from going through that chicken. It's worked as a kitchen knife for me before, but I've never had such a wicked cool patina. It's from that potato. This 3V, of course, is completely unstained. So I guess the first thing to do is take these out, and let's slice off a page of paper. That's good. Got some magazine paper here now. I'm sure this is going to be just fine. Maybe not. There we go. There we go. Good. I don't really see any edge damage. Don't see any hang-ups in the edge. No really noticeable depreciation in sharpness from the Scandi. Let's flip a few pages in here, and this will do our tip sharpness, which I'm sure is fine. And we'll take a quick run through. See, for some reason, this outside edge of magazine paper sometimes just doesn't get along. Great, absolutely phenomenal edges here. Impressed by the factory sharpness of the 3V Convex versus my sharpness on this knife. This knife is actually pretty wicked sharp, but this one just felt like a laser through that chicken. So where do we stand, I guess, is the biggest question, because they're both absolutely amazing. So when it comes down to food prep, where we stand on food prep is Convex. If you have a nice thin Convex, like a 1/8 Convex, it's going to win on food prep over, even if this was 1/8, even if this was 0.2, 20,000th of an inch thinner, so 0.02 is, this is how much thicker it is than this one, so this one's 0.02 inches thicker. Even if this was thinner and the same exact thickness, it's definitely going to be more of a wedge. Definitely more of a wedge. So let's go through our tests really quick and say who wins where, right? Because we're trying to get an accurate assessment. Batoning for a feather stick. Wedgy, slicey. This felt like it kind of, it starts to pop that wood apart. This feels like it just glides straight through that wood. So, which one do I honestly prefer? I guess on some harder stuff to get through, maybe the Scandi would win. But I feel like I prefer the Convex. For feather sticking, they're both awesome. It just depends on what you're looking for. They can both do fast feathers. This one can do very, very fine feathers very easily, and a little bit more effort to do thicker feathers. This one consistently puts out thicker feathers. You can do fine feathers, but sometimes it takes a little bit more control, and I feel like fine feathers is kind of what you want. Anyway, finer, thinner feathers. But either way, I'm going to call it a tie. For Campcraft, which was basically notching, tent stake, a bunch of stuff like that, I felt like the Convex did bulk removal on greenwood easier, did the pot hook notch way better than the Scandi did, but I feel like the Scandi did the notches, the V notch, the 7 notch, a lot better, and I think the Scandi would be better at dry wood, at removing bulk material from dry wood easier than the Convex would. In Camp Kitchen, Convex won, hands down. So we did a paper test on both of them, no real depreciation and edge loss, no edge damage on either of them through these tests. I think that if you're going to cut through bone, if you're going to crunch through bone, that you're definitely going to damage your Scandi. But I think that it's possible to to have the same damage on your Convex as well. I crunched through some bones on a black sea bass with my Convex guide in 3V, and I did just a slight amount of edge damage to it, nothing that a strop couldn't pull out, but it definitely did it. It definitely did some damage, because if you're thinking about it, this is coming to a 0. This is coming to a 0 at a much finer angle than this is. This is what they do, like 14, not 14 degrees per side. Maybe it's about 25 degrees total for it. 25 to 30, somewhere in that range, depending on when they made it. So versus if I put this and I try to measure that angle is much, much finer. That angle is like 15 degrees total. So you're talking about a strong edge, but potentially fragile edge because it's thinner. So regardless, I think you can pull off the same amount of edge damage. I think it would be easier to fix edge damage on a Convex than it would be on a Scandi, because a Scandi you got to regrind that whole bevel, and even if you're nicked in here 1/16 of an inch, you're pulling this whole bevel back a 1/16 of an inch. Versus working here on the Convex, you can change that angle a little bit. You can thin it out, you can make it a little thicker, so you have a little bit more leeway with a Convex. So in the end, I think I'm going to give it to, just by the slightest hair ever, I think a Convex for a primary carry bushcraft knife is ideal. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think below. I'm sure there's going to be tons of debate and tons of comments on this. I'm hoping anyway. Let's have a civil discussion. If you like what you saw here and you want to see more, go ahead and click subscribe. Make sure to like and share. And I'll see you guys next time. We'll go ahead and go through the sharpening process of both these knives as part of the Scandi versus Convex debate.